Hey, how's it going everybody? Welcome back to Aussie Fish Keeping. So in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at some of the best tank mates that you can keep with your guppies. So guppies are actually quite a versatile fish and you can keep them with a whole variety of different species. The only thing to keep in mind when finding a tank mate for these guys is you just have to remember that a lot of guppies nowadays have nice, long, beautiful, brightly colored fins, which a lot of other fish actually like to nip at. And if you have other fish constantly nipping at your guppies, that's obviously not going to be good for them whatsoever. So, like I said before, there is a plethora of different species that you can keep with your guppies. But in today's video, I've just narrowed it down to 6 of my favorites. And these 6 are the ones which would have the least amount of risk keeping with your guppies. But with that being said, without any further ado, let's jump straight into today's video. So the first fish on our list are Endlers. Now, I know you guys might be thinking, well, pretty much Endlers and guppies are the exact same thing. But they are actually 2 completely different species. They are in the same genus, of course. But generally, Endlers are a lot smaller than your average guppy. So because they are pretty much the same fish, obviously they can go together quite well. And you would definitely have absolutely no risk keeping your guppies and Endlers together. And when they do breed, you can get really cool hybrids out of them both as well. So Endlers need the exact same needs as guppies, which makes them perfect together just because you don't have to do too much work per fish. And instead you can just focus on doing work for the whole group of fish. So the only problem with keeping your guppies and Endlers together is if you want to breed them, you will find that the guppies will eat a lot of the Endlers babies when they're first born. Although the Endlers probably shouldn't touch the guppies babies whatsoever, so that is, I guess, a plus. But yeah, a great tank mate for guppies is definitely Endlers. So moving on to the next fish on the list, we actually have a whole group of fish. So this being smaller size tetras. Obviously, in particular, we're talking about stuff like maculata tetras or neon tetras, cardinal tetras, or harlequin rasboras. So all of these smaller size tetras and rasboras are super good tank mates for guppies just because they don't generally nip at their fins, and if the guppies try and nip at them, they are quite fast fish, so they can generally get away quite well. They also need pretty much the same needs as guppies, so you don't, again, have to do too much work just for that fish, which makes them and guppies perfect community fish to keep together. So obviously a lot of the tetras and rasboras do need a heater, which is perfectly fine for your guppies. Your guppies can do perfectly well in a heated tropical aquarium, and you may actually find in the heated aquarium the guppies will breed a lot more as well. So another great thing about these guys is obviously they are a smaller fish and so are guppies, which means you can keep a lot of them in a smaller sized aquarium and you shouldn't find too much fighting between the 2 species. A great thing about the smaller size tetras is that there is a whole range of different colors and different patterns that you can get, and they also look super nice in your aquarium as well. So as for sizing, I probably most definitely wouldn't go for anything like a Congo tetra, although the biggest tetra I'd go for is something maybe the size of a bloodfin tetra. But if you're unsure on what size tetra you should get, I would definitely just stick to the smaller size neons and cardinal tetras. But yeah, the smaller size tetras definitely also make great tank mates for your guppies. Moving on to the next fish on our list, and keeping with the smaller size fish theme, we have Danios. So Danios can be a little bit nippy, especially when feeding, although most of the time they'll just leave your guppies alone and they'll do their own thing. And Danios are also a super fast fish, which means your guppies won't bother them whatsoever. Again, the Danios are a smaller size fish and they do require the exact same things guppies do. And the great thing about Danios is they do not actually need a heated aquarium, although obviously it is best to keep them with one. They can do very well without a heated aquarium as well, which makes it a lot easier to keep the 2 species together. Although if you do want to breed the guppies, you will find the Danios will eat a lot of their babies, and most of the time you may not even find any of your fry in your aquarium, just because the Danios are little predators and they will just eat any live food that falls into the water. But yeah, definitely another great tank mate option is Danios. So moving on to the next fish on our list, we have a super common little nano creature. We have cherry shrimp. So if you are wanting to breed the cherry shrimp in the aquarium, I definitely wouldn't keep them with the guppies, just because the guppies will eat a lot of the shrimplets. Although if you do have juvenile or relatively large mature shrimp, them and the guppies can go perfect together. So shrimp are a great species to keep with your guppies, just because your guppies can be quite messy eaters at times, and a lot of leftover food falls to the bottom of your aquarium. So what the shrimp will do is they'll go around and eat all the little scraps around the bottom of your tank. The great thing about the shrimp being at the bottom of your aquarium and the guppies being in the middle to top of your water column is that there will be a little bit of color everywhere throughout your aquarium, which makes it super interesting and unique. As for the shrimp, they shouldn't bother your guppies whatsoever. They won't nip at them at all or eat their tails or whatever. They'll just sit at the bottom of your aquarium and mind their own business. And then as for heating, shrimp don't really like heaters in their aquarium at all, which is perfectly fine with the guppies. So you can keep them in an unheated tank quite well together. The only thing is you will want to supplement the shrimp with very nice high quality shrimp food, just to make sure they keep their nice vibrant colors. So I would only really go with Neocaridina shrimp. I probably wouldn't go with Caridina shrimp, just because they require a little bit more effort than the Neos do, and also they are a lot more expensive. So if your guppy does happen to eat them, then that's a bigger loss. Although your guppies shouldn't eat your shrimp whatsoever, and they are definitely another great tank mate for them, and I would highly recommend them to anyone. So moving on to the next fish on our list, we have a live bearer, and actually we have a group of live bearers. So we have Platies, mollies, and swordtails. So I say Platies, mollies, and swordtails are in a group just because they technically are very similar fish, much like the guppies and Endlers are. Although the Platies and swordtails are in a relatively similar family and the mollies are in a completely different family. But yeah, these fish also make great tank mates for your guppies. They are a little bit more on the bigger side, and they don't generally tend to nip at your fish, although if you do find they start nipping at your guppies, you can separate them quite easily. So they will most likely eat your guppies fry, although they themselves will have fry, and their fry are a little bit bigger, so your guppies shouldn't bother them whatsoever. So you shouldn't really worry about your guppies bullying these guys, just because they are a lot bigger and they can defend for themselves a little bit more. So these fish also do not need a heater in their aquarium, which obviously, like I said before, is fine by the guppies. So they really are the perfect tank mate for these guys, and they are another great option that I would recommend to anybody looking for a guppy tank mate. So moving on to the final fish on our list, we have another bottom dwelling fish. We have Cory catfish. So Corydoras catfish are another great, super easy to care for species that go perfect with your guppies. So being a catfish, obviously they will stay in the bottom area of your aquarium, and they'll actually do the same job as your shrimp will do. So they'll go around picking up scraps after your guppies have done feeding. Although just because they are a little bit bigger than the shrimp, they will definitely need their own food. So a high quality sinking pellet would be perfect for these guys. They would also love to eat any sort of thing like live blackworms or frozen bloodworms. So the only thing with these guys is they do prefer a heated aquarium. They can do well without one, although it's just best to keep them with one. But either way, it's perfectly fine for your guppies. They don't really mind what temperature the water is. So the Corydoras catfish will not bother your guppies whatsoever. They shouldn't nip at their fins at all, and same goes for your guppies. They shouldn't really nip at the Corys. The only thing is, a lot of people think that Corydoras catfish are a cleaner fish, although this is completely false. They don't eat algae or anything like that. They're just simply another fish that you add to your aquarium. You still need to feed them, you still need to look after them. They are just a really helpful fish, just because they do pick up a lot of the scraps along the bottom of your tank. So Corydoras catfish are definitely another great fish that can cohabitate with your guppies really well. But with that being said, that is going to bring us to the end of today's video. So I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope I helped you guys find a new tank mate for your guppies. If you haven't already, please make sure to go subscribe and comment down below. I love going through and reading them all. And if you want a part 2 of this video where I talk about more great tank mates for guppies, make sure to comment that down below as well. But yeah, with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in that next one.